What's up, guys and ghouls? Welcome back to Living Dead Garage, where we bring the dead back to life. This week's episode, we are V8 swapping a 93 GMC Jimmy. So this here is Jeff's rig. Picked it up a few years ago. It's really clean. And how many miles are on it?
180 something.
180,000, which is a little high-ish, but for how clean this is, it was a very well-maintained truck, always garage kept. Unfortunately, we do have a little Wisconsin weight reduction, but it's not too terrible. That's pretty easy to fix right there. And luckily he knows a paint and body guy. The reason we are V8 swapping this, other than the fact that the 4.3 liter is an absolute turd, it ate the head gaskets. So there's currently probably more coolant in the oil than there is oil. Yeah, that's pretty much all there is to it. Here's the engine. You guys might recognize this slightly from the 87 Firebird 350 swap. This is the 305 that was in there. We got the oil pan conversion on. Well, we got the headers on, motor mounts. That's pretty much all there is to it for the swap. The oil pan needs to be changed for the four-wheel drive differential, obviously. But here is the gutless Vortec 4.3. This thing is a nice ride, but it's just freaking slow. Way too slow. So we are gonna fix the head gaskets by adding 2 more cylinders. You know, that's always the right thing to do. So yeah, we're just gonna get into this and start blowing it apart. We've had this engine out before. The other engine, original engine, was tired. We swapped this one in and it ended up having bad head gaskets. So yeah, it's got a lot of coolant in it, as you can see. He drove it here from his house, which is like, I don't know, 5 miles, and that's probably as far as it was going to go. It wasn't doing too good.
Weird on the way here.
Yeah. The planets weren't aligning at all for this thing. But now it is, so because of that guy right there. I guess I could give you guys a little tour on the inside. It's a little rough in some spots, but other than that, it's got a really clean dash. The seats are pretty decent, except for, you know, a little bit of mileage here from sliding in and out. It's got the console in it. Wish it had a console shifter, but that's fine. I really like this interior, you know, classic early 90s, late 80s style. We got some junkyard boom booms back here, which sound very nice. These old Blazers and Jimmys, the cabin is like perfect for stereo systems. No. Oil so far. Still oil.
I think maybe I just overfilled it that much.
Every time you drove it? Just throw a quart in before you start it. Huh, I was figuring we were going to see a lot of green in there, but well, the turd is out. Didn't fight us too badly. Bell housing bolts are always a pain in the ass, but luckily we did not reinstall that one right there because it's like impossible to get to. Also, we got a Bluetooth motor mount that was doing nothing. Luckily, we have new ones. These, as far as I know, they are, the frame is tapped, so we don't have a nut on the other side like a lot of the older vehicles do, so we got lucky there. We'd have to drop the A-arms and do all that nonsense, but not the case. Well, this thing needs a nice cleanup, maybe some rebuild, a little here and a little there. And then we'll get ready to drop that puppy in. All right, it's been a few days. Jeff's been busy at the engine bay, got it all cleaned up, got the core support and grill off, obviously, and he rebuilt everything in here with the handy dandy Vice Grip Garage Rebuild Black. Turned out pretty nice. So where we're at, we got to do motor mounts, got to pull those out. Jeff already removed the steering shaft because that actually has to run through the headers, so that's going to be pretty neat. We are not too far from dropping the engine in and seeing what kind of fitment issues we may have. Hopefully zero. But you never know with these kits. They say it's a direct swap, but you know, that's not always the case. But for how much Jeff spent on the kit, I'm really hoping we don't have any issues. Also, I want to mention Jeff opted to get upgraded to a aluminum 3-core radiator. It's supposed to be directly for the Jimmy to do a V8 swap. And the reason you need to do that is because this whole radiator hose outlet here is a lot smaller than what is on the V8s. So that helps, and also more cooling power for the larger engine. RadiatorExpress.com, not a sponsor, but there's a huge selection of radiators for just about anything and everything, including, you know, engine swaps and such. So this thing's gonna look real nice in there. I think it was around 300 bucks. A little pricey, but I mean, you can never have too big of a radiator in my opinion. All right, we're getting ready to drop this engine in soon. And I got the flywheel on and I put the starter on, and right now I have a battery hooked up. That way we can kick the Bendix out and make sure that we're not gonna need to shim the starter after we get it in the truck, because if any of you guys have had to do that, dropping a starter in and out and having to shim it is a pain in the ass while it's in the vehicle. So I got a trigger wire here. I'll hit that. It's kind of hard to see, but we got about an 1/8 inch gap between the tooth and the bottom of the tooth on the flywheel, which is what you're looking for. Perfect. So that'll save you a big headache, you know, checking it now while it's out, then putting it in the vehicle and having to drop the starter 4 times.
Yeah.
All right, we are almost ready to drop this engine in. Got the heater core spout here. We are using the original temp sensor so we can utilize the gauges still. And also the oil pressure sensor. Got a new one of those on. Got the motor mounts on. We pulled the headers off because we will have to trim the Y-pipe down in order to get those to bolt up. And last thing we got to do is switch out these stock motor mounts and drop this thing in. Hopefully we don't run into any snags. All right, Trans Dapt has officially made my shit list. 1985 to 1993 model frame rails have tapped holes that will make the installation easier. These have bolts through them. Bolt and nut. Horse shit. So now we have to drop the front differential to get at the nuts back there.
We might not have to, but it might be the easier way to do it.
Yeah. Either way, I'm not happy, but it's got to be done. We can't use these original mounts, unfortunately. Okay, so change of plans. We were trying to drop this front differential, and it's going to be an absolute nightmare. They didn't make this easy at all. I'm sure some of you guys know that already, but what we're going to do is we're going to cut the heads off of these bolts, and then I have a nutsert kit, some 3/8 nutserts. We use this riveter here, pop those in place, and just go that route. It's going to save us so much headache and time. Speaking of headache, I absolutely smoked my dome on this bottom fender. That felt amazing.
Probably cried a little bit.
Maybe I did. That's just between you and me though. But yeah, that's going to be our solution there. We're going to just save a lot of headache doing it this way. Perfect. That one hit me right in the beard. Yeah. Yep. Alright, we got these mounts on, and according to the instructions we have to put the motor side on these first, and then once we get the engine in here in position, then we can bolt it in. That way we don't have to pull it in and out and keep adjusting these back and forth. But I'm excited. Let's do it. All right, update. First issue, we have to utilize these bolt holes, but for some reason they have these slotted ones and all this is in the way because it goes in there like this and we have to tilt it, and that bottom flange hits on the motor mount bolts and or frame rail. So we're going to zip those off and bolt them in, and this engine should set right in there perfectly. Nothing like modifying parts that are direct bolt-in, right? Yeah. All right, she is in. So this side, we did not have to cut those ears off. And this side we did because we had to use the upper provisions. And it seems to live in there pretty good. We're happy with it. The biggest hurdle is going to be getting the headers in. I know these brake lines here and maybe even the cruise control might be in the way a little bit, but this side should slide right in after we get the Y pipe out of the way. Yeah, other than that, I don't see any other issues. Well, good morning. It's been a couple days. I wanted to give you guys a little update. We've been busy on the Jimmy, buttoning up a bunch of random shit that really doesn't need to be recorded, but I wanted to add a little bit before we get too far. Don't want you guys to miss any important details on doing this specific swap in case one of you guys are watching this to learn something. Mainly learn what not to do, and let me explain. Remember when I said those motor mounts needed to be cut? Nope. Turns out I'm not the sharpest wrench in the toolbox. Who would have thought? Turns out we had to mate the engine and transmission together before sliding the engine side mounts in, because it had the engine up it holds the engine up pretty high, so it was almost impossible, or it was impossible to get the engine and transmission to mount together. So we cut the mounts and set the engine in there, and it was way too low. The oil pan was hitting the diff, and the headers especially would not clear. So we knew we messed up. So what I did was welded those ears back on, and here we are. The engine is back in and everything works. So don't do what we did. Trust the instructions, except those frame rails are not tapped like they said 85 to 93 would be. But whatever, we had an easy solution for that, as you saw. Let's get you in here and show you what we've been doing. Okay, so we got some of the front clip back on, core support. Jeff's got the aftermarket radiator in there. Everything is good there, except trans-cooler lines do not screw into here. They screw into the original radiator, but not this new radiator. These are slightly smaller. So we're gonna have to use an aftermarket trans-cooler, which is not a big deal, but he spent good money on this radiator for that not to be used. So at least it fits, but it's kind of bullshit if you ask me. But anyway, we're reusing the old style alternator mounting brackets. You can use the original 4.3 power steering bracket and not use the alternator in this spot, because we opted not to do that because it's just going to be everything over here and then nothing here. We kind of wanted to break it up a little bit. And later on, we can cut this off here and here, and then this will be all open. As far as the headers, let's get a light in here. The headers worked out great. The only modification we had to do on this side is that little corner on the shock tower needed to be zipped off. As you can see right there, that was the only spot that was hitting, which is not a big deal. Angle grinder, zzz, took that right off. Bolted right in. This side, there is a, let's see if I can get a light back there. There is a heat shield right there where all the wiring runs into the firewall. Number 8 cylinder back there was hitting. That needed a little massage with the mallet, and that one slid right in place. Got really nice clearance on the shock tower there. Mechanical fuel pump fits great. Plenty of clearance. The frame is even bumped out for it, like there was supposed to be a V8 in here. Jeff has got the alternator wired in temporarily. We're gonna clean all this up. You can use your HEI distributor, no problem. You just gotta splice or find the hot wire to the 4.3 coil and run that in, and boom, you have spark. And then same thing with the starter and starter wires and stuff. You can reuse those. It's the same setup. We're reusing the temp sensor so that our gauge, original gauge on the dash still works. Also, the oil pressure sensor behind the distributor is going to work for the dash gauge. This power steering pump is out of a 99 to 2007 Silverado Sierra. One from the original 4.3 would not work because the lines would hit the block. And this power steering pump, as you can see, just that it clears the block perfectly. And the only thing we're going to have to do is get a larger serpentine belt to get the power steering to work. But for now, we're just going to run the alternator just to hear this thing run. We'll figure out a belt later on. The brake lines needed to be slightly bent out of the way for this header on the driver's side. And looks like we can still use our cruise control here. That would be nice for long trips. Didn't have to delete that at all to get, well, we had to unbolt it, lift it out of the way to get the header in. Got plenty of clearance on the air box, so we don't have to sacrifice our heat. And we could even add AC back in one day if Jeff so desires. I think I'm gonna put it up in the air and show you guys the underneath. And oh yeah, as far as cooling, we're either gonna have to put two 10-inch fans on the inside, but there's not a whole lot of room, so we might opt to put one here and here since there's all kinds of room, and just turn them to push instead of pull. So underneath here, Jeff has a copper fuel line ran up to the fuel pump here. You can see we have tons of clearance on the oil pan. Before, the pan was actually, you can kind of see a little scuff over there. The pan was actually hitting, and that's when we realized we needed to weld the ears back onto the mounts there. Not my proudest moment, but hey, we're here, the engine's in and it's level, so that's all that matters. We're gonna have to get our Y-pipe mounted back up. See, we got plenty of room there and there, which is awesome. So he spliced into the rubber line here and went copper all the way forward. Opted to loop it down here to cool the fuel. You know, we don't want that vapor lock. We're gonna be able to utilize the rest of this exhaust for the time being. It's gonna be awfully quiet, but that's fine. We'll make it louder later. It's not terribly important. We just want to hear this thing run. And then lastly, we're gonna have to do brakes and rotors on this thing because these are very, very pitted and gouged. And other than that, I mean, we gotta throw a carburetor on it, spark plug wires, finish up any other wiring, put the bumper back on. And I mean, we aren't far from hearing this thing run and then taking it down the road, which is awesome. Overall, the swap wasn't too bad. I think the biggest dilemma was cutting those motor mounts down and then realizing that was completely wrong, which I should have known that was wrong from the beginning, but you know, here we are. Here to teach you guys what not to do, which I'm pretty good at, you know, doing dumb shit on camera. Save you guys the headache of messing shit up. So just wanted to give you guys a little update. I'll update you more when we get more of this thing put back together, and then hopefully test drive soon. We'll see you then. I also forgot to mention the oil relocation setup that comes on the 4.3s will not work on a V8. The mounting holes are spread apart further on the V8, but you can just barely squeeze an oil filter in there, and if we turn this front drive shaft, can actually unscrew that and sneak it through here without too much trouble, which is pretty nice because that would have set us back quite a bit. I'm sure we could have gotten one for a V8 that would fit, but then we're sitting around waiting for parts. This is a quick, easy solution. Jeff's just gonna deal with changing the oil filter being a little bit of a headache, but overall it's not too bad. You just gotta, you know, move the drive shaft a little bit. So yeah, that's one thing to keep in mind, that 4.3 oil filter relocation setup will not work. You'll have to get a adapter or something of that sort. I didn't really look into it because we figured out that this was going to work, so just so you guys know, you're going to run into that issue doing this swap. One little thing we just ran into, if you guys are doing this swap, these Hedman headers that they send you, they give you this hardware, nut and bolt hardware, and it is damn near impossible to get at the nuts when the headers are in. So we opted to tack weld the nuts in so that you can just run your hardware in from the bottom and save a lot of time and frustration and cut knuckles. So do this before you put your headers on because we had to take them back off. Great. All right, got the headers back in. We're gonna change gears. We're gonna do plugs, wires, throw the carburetor on, and we're gonna see if this thing barks off. We did rotate the engine with the key, And wait.
A couple mix match ones.
Yeah, we got mismatched plugs, but
It'll work.
It'll work for now. Like I was gonna say, we rolled it over with the key to make sure all the ignition and electrical works, and it was sparking off of the firewall, and everything rotates, so we're pretty confident this thing's gonna bark off. So we're gonna throw all this stuff on and crank on it. What are you doing over here, Aria?
Cleaning.
Cleaning?
Brakes.
Nice. You got the best job of the whole project.
No, I don't.
You're gonna paint them up real nice after that now?
Yeah.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Alright guys, it's been a few days. We've been doing some stuff off camera, a bunch of piddly stuff that just takes forever. For example, this Y-pipe. As you can see, we had to replace the driver's side. It was in terrible shape. It had a big split in it, so we just opted to replace it with some stuff I had laying around. But we have the collectors all welded up on both sides. And then we also eliminated the cat right away. Just welded in a little bendy woo right there. Got everything buttoned up under here. All right, she runs and pretty darn good. We had 5 and 7 crisscrossed over here by accident. Swapped those around, and she fired right off. Sat there and idled. I had took some timing out of it, and I seemed to like it. We had one leak, a little bit of trans fluid. We had to tighten some fittings. Built great oil pressure. It's not charging though, but I just noticed. Looks like we have some damage here. I don't know what happened, but it looks like some damaged technology there, so I'm sure that's the reason there. Other than that, I think we're okay to go ahead and button up some other stuff, like the cooling system, charging system. Aria is spray painting the brake calipers right now, getting that all rebuilt. So yeah, huge success. Very happy with that. Purrs like a kitten, just like when we pulled it out of the Firebird. Couldn't be happier with that, so awesome progress today. We got the power steering in. We did end up having to go with an aftermarket bracket set because the other original bracket from the V6 was gonna require us to utilize a full serpentine belt, and that would have just been a nightmare to get all lined up and working again, so we opted just to go with your standard V-belt style. We threw a different alternator in, but it's still not charging. Bearings sound like shit, so that's probably why. We did put it in gear and move it back and forth, but when you put it in drive, it's like it's slipping. And this is a 4L60, not a 4L60E. The 4L60 is either controlled by a TV cable or vacuum actuated. So we have to dig that down, or dig for that, see what's going on, because we don't want to burn this transmission out. Got some electric fans pushing air through because we really can't fit anything in. Well, we could, but it's just gonna be a lot better to have them out here. I got the wiring all cleaned up, got the fuel line all fed and stuff like that. So yeah, that's where we're at. Okay, we've been doing some research online and looking into the transmission issue. This is the early 4L60E, which is a bummer because it does not run off a TV cable or a vacuum actuator. It runs off a throttle position sensor. So we have to, luckily we can utilize the original one from the Vortec and just plug it in to our harness here. The only thing is we got to tie it in with our throttle. So there's kits you can buy that'll mount these right to your throttle plate, throttle blades on either side. We don't want to spend the money and wait. So what we're going to do is we have an extra throttle cable that we're going to run alongside this one and hook to here so that when we give it throttle, it's going to pull that cable and we're going to run it all the way over here to our TPS sensor. Instead of having all this mumbo jumbo up here, we're going to just have it over here since we don't have the oil filter relocation kit anymore. So in order to get this to work, this has to spin in here with the throttle. Okay. Well, luckily we still have the old engine here, and what I did was that I took this throttle plate out, the throttle blade, throttle rod, I took it out and I cut the very end of it off, which this fits right into the TPS sensor like so, and that's what spins that and sends a signal to the transmission control module. So that's great. Well, I have this old throttle linkage laying around from an old car. I like to hang on to this stuff for this exact reason. I may look like a hoarder, but there's a reason for everything I hang on to. So this just so happens to fit in this rubber grommet. And then our cable will lock into here, and then we can utilize this little goddammit right here for our cable. And what I have to do is take this little thing right here and tack weld that onto here, and once that's on, we can mount our TPS sensor right here, and that should all function as a rudimentary TV cable or TPS sensor. So it's taken some MacGyvering, but I think we're onto something here. I'm going to buzz this together and
hope for the best.
Yes. All right, this is what we have come up with. It's kind of jerry-rigged, but like I showed you, I welded that stud on and used the original nut, and then I just welded a bolt here and nut and washed it on both sides to keep it from moving and tilting. And we got a return spring set up here, and we got Jeff acting as the carburetor. Look at that. It's moving the TPS sensor. I think we might have something here.
It might work. It's worth a shot.
Not bad for 2 high school dropouts. All right, we got her mounted up here on the fender. I have the wiring harness hooked up. I had to extend it. Wasn't quite long enough, obviously. Got our map sensor hooked up, and we also have that cable that runs to the TPS. We got a cable clamp here mounted to the intake, and then we have it kind of rudimentary little fastener here with a stainless steel ring for the time being. But when I actuate throttle, watch the TPS sensor. Perfect. Exactly how we envisioned it. Kind of a rinky-dink setup, but hey, it works and it keeps all the mess out of here. This map sensor will obviously be moved. We're just hooking it up and we're gonna put it in gear and see if this actually is gonna work, or if this was just a huge waste of time, which probably was. Well, we are back at it. It has been probably almost 2 weeks. Work has been busy. It's been very winterish outside, you know, being Wisconsin. So we've been hibernating a bit and just kind of tinkering. As you can see, we have a hood, we have an air cleaner. Well, let's just show you where we're at. So yes, as I was saying, we have an air cleaner on. This is temporary. This is actually off of the hearse Beetlejuice, if you guys have watched those videos. Our little throttle positioning sensor contraption was a success. The only issue we ran into was Jeff had to ohm it out and set it correctly. Otherwise, it was giving it too much line pressure or not enough line pressure to the transmission, which is causing hard or sluggish shifts. So I think we got that all dialed in. One last thing we have to do is put the trans cooler. We have an aftermarket trans cooler in, since Radiator Express sent us the correct radiator, but the damn fittings don't fit. But yet these fittings fit the original stock radiator, so it's nothing we did wrong. Oh well, we're gonna overcome and persevere as usual. We have to do one thing with the exhaust yet. We have to put a flex pipe in line because it's welded and bolted so tight that it's rattling and stuff. We got to do that, and then we have to address a really bad vibration. And we're gonna put her up in the air and see what that's all about. But look at this. Jeff's got the front clip back on. Starting to look like a stock unit now. And once we slam the hood, this thing was total sleeper mode, which is awesome. But let's get this thing in the air and I'll show you what we're working with. Here we are under the unit. This is the flex pipe we're gonna put in line. It's just gonna give it a little bit of give, so it's just not a solid, you know, exhaust all the way through. It's causing rattling and such back there. We just want this thing to be nice and quiet as far as rattling and squeaks and noises. Exhaust we want loud, but not that kind of loud. Well, I gotta buzz this in place. And then there, like I said, there's a really bad vibration when you give it RPMs. And we are gonna have to hunt that down. So Jeff's on his way here. We'll buzz that in and then investigate what our vibration issue is. All right, got that all melted in. We were investigating what's going on with our very bad vibration. Got the trigger wire set up on the starter, and we're gonna roll over the engine right now. Yeah, that's not good. Yeah, so not sure why that is. It is a used flywheel, so I'm really hoping it wasn't bent before I put it on there, but or cracked. We're gonna undo all the torque converter bolts and then roll it over again if it's still wobbly, and then we have a bent flywheel, and
then the trans comes back out. Otherwise, just do a 5-speed swap.
Yeah, so 5-speed swap might be the best fix for this, is what Jeff is trying to get at here, and I would have to agree. All right, we pulled all the hardware out. Torque converter is free, and looking at this gap here, we're almost wondering if we didn't put enough washers in between there, and we pulled the torque converter out and it wasn't really fully engaging to the pump, causing it to be out of alignment and causing shifting issues maybe. So why don't you hit that button and see what we got here.
That flywheel still moves.
Oh no. Go ahead. Yeah, we got a bent flywheel. Great. It seems better, but it's still not good. Do we find where it's kitty wampus and bend it with a pry bar?
Not gonna hurt it.
No, I think we'll try that.
Okay. Flex.
So what we did was spun it around and measured the distance between the flywheel and the oil pan. And here, it's been a consistent 1 1/8, except for right here, it's 1 3/16. So that means it's cocked out this way. So we're gonna try and put a pry bar here and flex the flex plate. So you wanna give that a shot, see if our idea is gonna work. Look at that.
Okay. I can't see. You gotta tell me when.
Let's try that. I don't go two banana sandwich here. I think that was might be a hair too much, but we probably changed the geometry up top now. So maybe we gotta spin it, see if it wobbles. Oh my God, that's substantially worse. Oh no. Oh yeah, that's like almost 1 inch now.
What did we do?
I'm gonna gently pry against your very expensive oil pan here. Okay, that's just a hair over 1 1/8 inches. Still 1 1/8 inches. That's over 1 1/8 inches.
No, that was too much.
Yeah, big time. Right there, it looks like it's kicked in. I don't know if this is gonna work. Less than 1/8. And all we're really doing is just stressing out the center of this flywheel, and it's just gonna crack later, so.
Yeah. Doesn't look too bad.
It's not good either. I don't know if it's much better than when we started. 1 1/8 inches. Just a hair over 1 1/8 inches. 1 1/8 inches. 1 1/8 inches. Just a hair. Hair over. Hair over. How's that?
I like that. Alright,
Well,
let's bolt this back up and see what happens.
yeah. All right, we added 4 washers in line instead of 2. So you want to hit the trigger, see how good we are. All right.
Battery. What?
Losing battery, but it still wobbles, but I think we'll just put this sticker right here and then call it good. What do you think?
Yeah, definitely.
Kevin and Angus would approve.
High quality stickers.
There we go. Perfect. V8 swapped.
Right.
Go for it. Oh, a little bit of a cold start.
Battery's real dead yet.
She'll come around. Maybe not.
Ready?
Go for it. It's already way smoother. Rev on it once. Tremendous difference. Before, when we'd rev on it, it would vibrate really badly because of the flywheel. Now it's substantially better. Oh. Got a pretty bad leak where I welded that. Doesn't sound bad though. Running like a frickin' sewing machine. A little bit of a leak where I was welding.
What's that look like now?
See, our flywheel looks a lot better. Not all wobbly anymore. Perfect. Looks great. Way better. Oh, hell yeah.
No, there's 2 degrees outside. Go for a test drive.
Yeah, it is very windy and cold outside, but we're going to try and take this thing for a ride anyway. All right, here we go. First test drive. Oh man, it's freaking cold out here. Oh, first second shift was nice. Third. Well, you did something right with that TPS sensor.
I guess so.
Wow, new shocks and this thing rides like a freaking caddy. I mean, it rolled good before, but the shocks are absolutely garbage. Probably still from the 90s by the looks of them. How are we on temp? Oh, nothing yet?
Nothing yet.
Charging, we're good. We got gas, barely.
A little bit.
Let's turn the heat on, why don't we? Oh yeah, she's already kicking heat. Shit. Oh, overdrive? I'm gonna give you a raise. Huh.
The vibration's gone.
Yeah, I didn't even realize this thing. I wish I would have took a video before, but when it would get up in the RPMs, the whole thing was just, and it was violent.
When you let off the gas, it was gone.
Yeah, only under load, but now it is just smooth. Kind of a bad day to test drive, but there's no dry pavement anywhere. It's all snow and ice. Oh yeah. Posi traction. Engage. Downshifted.
You got any money on you?
I don't have my wallet, no.
Me either.
Shit.
We're like really low on gas.
Yeah. We're gonna swing back, get some fuel tokens, gas this thing up, go for a little longer trip, I think. Oh, even with that exhaust leak, it is just quiet in here. We're gonna have to do something about that. I feel this thing needs dual pipes coming out the back. A little bit of rumble. Just perfect. Nothing too crazy. Brakes are pretty good.
My anti-lock is on.
Oh.
I don't know why.
The light or?
Yeah,
Oh.
it never was before. Yeah, bad day for a test drive.
Yeah. Oh man, it is just shifting perfect right now. That's a big relief because this is the 4L60E, the early one. And if you don't have that stuff, the TPS sensor, right, you could burn this transmission out in a couple miles, so. In which case we would just 5-speed swap it, but then, you know, we're spending more money. We might still do that down the road, so stay tuned for that one. Well, how good this thing's running, it's definitely worthy of a 5-speed. Ooh, this is all glare ice. Oh, we'll have to test on the 4-wheel drive after we get some gas too.
We'll go back to my place, drive to the yard.
Yeah, get a little bit of outside footage of you tearing up some snow.
Tank out of that.
$20, half a tank, not bad. Oh, it is painful outside. I did not dress properly to put gas in today. Whoop. A little sideways action. We're gonna head back to my place, bundle up, and then we're gonna go to Jeff's, engage the 4-wheel drive, see how it tears through the snow. Assuming we survive until that point. All right, we're here at Jeff's. He's got a couple acres here to screw around on. Put her in 4-wheel drive. We're gonna see what she can do. Just clearing some brush.
Wow, that is way too quiet.
Put it in two-wheel drive. She's a beaut, Clark.
Almost had an insurance claim there. Put her in 4. That was only two-wheel drive if you guys didn't notice. I heard it engage. Oh yeah, that's 4. Tires are almost too good on that thing. There we go. Yeah! Hell yeah. Hell yes. Jimmy's living its best life now. All right. I think she's pretty well dialed in.
That was fun.
Yeah. Very successful first test drive. We took it around the block a couple more times, and Jeff's new air filter showed up, which actually matches the color of the truck, which is nice. Yeah, we mainly just wanted to make this video to kind of let show other guys how these V8 swaps go. We really couldn't find many videos that really went in depth on what all goes into this with keeping the carburation and stuff like that. The main thing was the TPS sensor to get the transmission, the 4L60E, to function properly. That was the big one. The engine swap in a box was really good quality. I had a couple grievances with it, but overall not bad. You're going to have that with a lot of engine swaps. You're going to have variables that are going to require a little bit of modification here and there.
At least the oil pan and the headers.
Yeah.
Because the headers super round.
Yeah.
Steering shaft. That's cool. That helps.
Yeah. The headers are very slick. The only gripe I had was they should have had the nuts welded to the headers so you could just bolt them right up. The oil pan was great. No issues there. We do have our trans cooler tucked behind the GMC logo. That all looks real nice and neat. The main thing too is if you're going to keep the electric fuel pump, you have to put a pressure regulator in line. Of course, carburetors are only going to accept 3 to 7 psi. Yeah, what else did we have to do besides fix a lot of our own mistakes? we opted to get a tack, and I didn't want to drill any holes in this really nice dash, so I put a longer fastener in place of the column screw here, and just screwed it right to there, and that's just absolutely perfect right there. Otherwise we would have had to put it here, and I don't like doing that. That looks a lot better in my opinion. Other than that,
Job well done.
yeah, I think we have officially upgraded the Jimmy to a Jim. It's a big boy now. Got a nice V8 in it. Granted, it's only a 305, but down the road we could just swap a 350 in it, no problem. Everything's there. In the future, we're gonna definitely put a better exhaust on it. Some dual pipes out the back would be ideal. And possibly a 5-speed swap. That would be pretty awesome. I think that's gonna do it for this episode. I hope you guys learned something. Hopefully it helped somebody out. Please like and subscribe, hype the video up, all that good stuff. And thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next one.